This is the way the world ends.
Did you know that one of the longest pieces of literature is a Super Smash Bros. Fanfiction that is over 3.5 million words long? And this was in 2013. Can you imagine how long it is now? This beats Marco Proust's 1913 novel titled In Search of Time, which spanned over 7 volumes and only came in at a total of 1.2 million words. Oh yeah, he may be considered by critics and writers as one of the most influential artists of the 20th century. But do any of his stories have Super Mario in it? Yeah, I didn't think so. Fanfiction, as it is defined, is a piece of fiction written about a particular TV series, book, movie, among so many other things, that uses copyrighted characters for the basis of their writing. One of the most famous examples of fanfiction includes the likes of Sherlock Holmes. During the 19th century, many unauthorized stories of the detective became so famous that back then it was hard to distinguish which story was by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle or some random bloke who wanted to get a quick buck by using the character for their fanfiction. Of course, at the time, it wasn't called fanfiction. This term didn't really become popular until something called the internet came to be. Fast forward around 100 years later, we get the invention of the World Wide Web. Since the invention of the World Wide Web, the term fanfiction became prominent, leading to the propping up of so many stories. Let me make something clear, fanfiction is not inherently bad. There are definitely stories from fans who are truly passionate about a project. They always try to let their imagination run wild when it comes to their love for these characters. It's just sometimes fans can be pretty twisted in terms of their imagination, that it leaves you asking one thing. Why? Enter Immortal, written in 2006, a fanfiction based off of the Harry Potter franchise. It is one of the most infamous fanfictions of all time, and considered by many as the worst fanfiction of all time. Personally, I think there's far worse, but this is still pretty bad. The piece was written by the user XXXBloodyRis666XXX. What an incredible username. Also known as Tara Gillespie. The protagonist of Immortal is a self-insert character for Tara, with the character's name being Ebony Darkness Raven Way, who is goth to the core. In fact, gothic elements are explicitly present throughout the story. I mean, there's a character named Vampire Potter. Vampire Potter is essentially a gothic rendition of Harry Potter, and is described as a gothic boy with spiky black hair with red streaks in it. To quote the reading, he was wearing so much eyeliner that it was going down his face, and he was wearing black lipstick. Thanks to Diablo Weasley, yeah, there's a gothic Ron Weasley as well, Harry no longer has a need for glasses or even his iconic scar. He's just this epic goth, I guess. So let me talk about the writing style. Skimming through the readings, I noticed that Tara likes to say fuck, like, a lot. Which is fine, but it's so hilarious just how much she relies on it. There's a famous quote from this fanfic, and it's of Dumbledore yelling, "What the hell are you doing, you motherfuckers?" at the characters. It's pretty awesome. It's actually kind of epic. Immortal is subject to so many grammatical errors. You know how in text messages people tend to abbreviate and just get straight to the point? Well, that's the entirety of Immortal. It makes it hard to comprehend what is trying to be expressed. Finally, Immortal is really just a fanfic about the author's over-sexualized crush on Draco Malfoy. Personally, I'm a fan of this quote. And then, suddenly, just as Draco kissed me passionately. Draco climbed on top of me, and we started to make out keenly against a tree. He took off my top, and I took off his clothes. I even took off my bra, then he put his thingy into my you-know-what, and we did it for the first time. His thingy into my you-know-what? What? That's not all. Here are a couple of my, my also favorite quotes from the story. He was so sexy that my body went oh hot every time when I saw him. Kind of like an erection, but I'm a girl, so I didn't get one, you sickos. I mean, let's see, what else do we have? Hermione was kidnapped when she was born. Her real parents are vampires, and one of them is a witch, but Voldemort killed her mother and her father committed suicide because he was depressed about it. Yeah, unfortunately, that tends to happen. Immortal was last updated in mid-2007. Unfortunately, I know, but luckily for you guys, I'm not exactly done with reviewing fanfics. I have a couple more bizarre ones to discuss. Now unfortunately, I only have time for the bigger fanfics, so I won't be able to cover ones such as a SpongeBob fanfic known as Salvation, in which the theme is just SpongeBob being racist? Wow, just wow. In 2011, My Little Pony's Friendship is Magic was taking the internet by storm. It inspired and amassed a huge fandom with its new take on the characters. With central themes of friendship and working together, it's a sweet show about accepting oneself and others as well. So when it comes to the fanfiction known as Cupcakes, I have to be honest. Where the hell is the working together aspect supposed to be? Cupcakes is one of the worst things I have ever read. It is so explicitly violent and terrible, it really boggles the mind how someone was able to make this up. But you have to keep in mind, in 2011, things such as creepypasta were part of internet culture, so it was relatively common for things that were overly gory to become infamous. It is a relatively short read that depicts Pinkie Pie inviting Rainbow Dash over to her bakery by offering her a cupcake. The cupcake is drugged, knocking out Rainbow Dash, later cutting to Rainbow Dash strapped onto a table. The room is surrounded by blood and bones, and Pinkie Pie reveals herself to be this twisted serial killer. What follows next is a brutal and graphic depiction of Pinkie Pie's demise. In retrospect, it may be because I've become so desensitized to this story, but the story isn't as bad as I remember it being. Oh, don't get me wrong, it's pretty bad. But without saying in detail what Pinkie Pie does to Rainbow Dash, the story doesn't really seem as disturbing as it once was. But trust me, back in the day, it was so bad that the My Little Pony fandom site, Equestria Daily, deleted any posts about it. Fans were so disturbed by the ratings that they even went as far to write alternative endings for it, in which one of them involves Rainbow Dash being saved by a team of FBI ponies. That's kind of epic, it's kind of awesome. The story spawned an animation trying to reenact the events as well, with the art style looking like an exact replica of the show, which is oddly impressive. And that's the thing about fanfics. Sure, they can be awful and completely derivative from the source material, but they can also spawn deeper merits of discussion. We can laugh at my Immortal, but when it comes to something such as Cupcakes, fans tend to be more horrified. Of course, years later, a lot of fans are able to look back and laugh. Something as edgy as Cupcakes may have been terrifying to us when we were younger, but after years of being desensitized and used to the other horrors that cloud the internet, we've become more accustomed to the likes of this. Fanfics can also be springboards to success. For example, 50 Shades of Grey started out as a Twilight fanfiction. Who knows, maybe one day the author for Cupcakes will write an episode for My Little Pony. Actually, the likelihood of that is pretty low. But how about the other fanfics? Ones which are just plain weird. Well, we do have Diary of a Wimpy Kid. This is basically the holy bible for every single kid who's gone to elementary school within the past 15 years. Unlike a lot of readings that we have, a lot of Wimpy Kid fanfics actually have custom-made drawings as a part of them, and they can be interesting to say the least. One of the fanfics takes a semi-serious approach of the life of Greg Heffley, by fast-forwarding him 25 years in the future. Let's take a look at the first page, shall we? Well, I haven't written in this thing in years. I was getting home from work today and I saw this thing lying under a stack of paperwork. I guess I used to like writing in it when I was a kid, so I figured I'd give it another try. Jesus, there's a lot of catching up to do. Where to start? Rowley's gone. No, not dead or anything. He just moved away. He's lived in Boston for 7 years now, I think. I don't even remember anymore. Damn, I haven't spoken to him at all since he left. I still don't really want to talk about it. I work a good job, I guess. Me and Bryce Anderson work at this office downtown. I mean, it's not like I enjoy it, but it pays the bills. Am I happy? I'm not sure. Jeez, nothing like social commentary on how the American dream is dead via Diary of a Wimpy Kid fanfic to start off my morning. So in the fanfic, Greg admits that he's gay for Rowley, which leads to Rowley not reciprocating feelings for him. However, if we look at Diary of a Wimpy Kid, 75 years later, we get a much more depressing outlook at what it means to age. I had a visitor today. It was the first visitor I've ever had, as far as I can remember, though they tell me I don't remember much. The visitor seemed almost sad to see me, which didn't make a whole lot of sense, but maybe he was just having a bad day. I hope he wasn't having a bad day. He said he knew me a long time ago, but I don't think I've ever seen him before, so I don't know if that's true. He cried a little. I think he wanted to talk to me more, but for some reason he didn't seem to be able to. Before he left, he told me, "I loved you, too, Greg," which was silly because I don't recall ever saying I loved him in the first place. Through my window, I saw him exit the hospital holding hands with a man he had presumably arrived with. Goodbye, new friend. God, I don't even know what to say. Let's talk about President Joe Biden fanfiction. So fanfics about real life people, it definitely is a thing. Hell, I even remember when my real life friends made a fanfic about me. Don't get too excited, that shit is buried and will never see the light of day again. So if you look up Joe Biden on Wattpad, you get two very interesting results. One titled You're Inside of Me, in which the cover is Hatsune Miku dancing to the former president having COVID, and the second just being an image of two star-crossed lovers kissing. A thing I love about the second one is that Trump is crying at the thought of Joe Biden leaving him. Don't leave, Joe-chan. I bring these fanfics up as an example. Although I know that these pieces are ironic, there are some other fanfics out there that detail in real life people. And you know, if I were like this huge celebrity, I would probably be pretty uncomfortable with these over-sexualized fanfics about myself. To be honest, it would be a little funny, but I would also be kind of freaked out. However, I won't be as disturbed as the final thing we'll be talking about today. Let's talk about Dipper Pines going to Taco Bell. Gravity Falls is one of the greatest cartoons I ever watched, and Dipper Goes to Taco Bell is the worst thing I've ever read. So bad that the story was removed from the online fanfiction database because it violated its site's terms of services. Okay, so Dipper Goes to Taco Bell, and let's just say that hijinks ensue. Warning, I'll try to be as censored and somewhat vague as possible when describing this, but it's still going to get nasty. So our good pal, Dipper, orders some tacos, and after having a bite, he gets diarrhea and runs into the bathroom. While in the bathroom, he gets turned on by his own feces and proceeds to produce more bodily fluids, because for some reason, it really gets him off. Already disgusting, but we'll continue on. Dipper eventually cuts his, as, you know, Tara would say, his thingy and dies from the loss of blood because of it. Later on, Mabel finds Dipper in the bathroom and proceeds to do stuff with it. Come on, dude. A Taco Bell employee finds her and then puts an end to her life by being as brutal and as, you know, disgusting as possible. All of this is in graphic detail, and is way worse if you were to just read the story, which I would not advise you in doing at all. I first read this thing when I was in 8th grade, and I remember not being able to eat for a couple days. It was too shocking for poor 13-year-old me. For some reason, in August of 2021, it bounced back in popularity and every now and then seems to be trending again. I guess this story is for all of time and will always have a legacy on this godforsaken website. With that, you may dictate that all fanfics are all horrible, but that couldn't be the furthest from the truth. Fandoms are huge. For every Dipper Goes to Taco Bell, there's an amazing fan animation created. For this video, I chose to find the most terrifying and the disturbed, but in reality, I bet if you go out looking for them, there ought to be some fantastic fanfics out there. I've been Zeepstered, and make sure to let me know which was the worst fanfic. And be sure to like and subscribe. I'm going to take a long introspective shower now. Later.